episode 3 of the Boxing Junkies Podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Abbasi, and I'm joined by my co-host, Haaris, once again. Haaris, how are you doing?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, bro. Thank you for asking. So let's get straight into it. Episode number 3 already, so it's moving pretty quickly. So let's go pick up where we were last week. Lomachenko versus Lopez. Obviously, a few things have come to light since that fight took place. It's come out that, in fact, Lomachenko had quite a severe shoulder injury and he had to take some shots for pain relief from the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So that kind of puts a bit of context into why maybe he didn't perform the way a lot of us expected on the night. Of course, it doesn't tell the whole story, but it's still a fairly big thing that I'm sure a lot of fans want to hear about and want to discuss and go a bit back and forth on. So I want to hear your thoughts on that, please.
So when I heard about it, it clicked. It made sense, because my whole narrative was that I felt like, Loma didn't perform on his level, which after this, I've listened to a lot of podcasts and a lot of different opinions, Teddy Atlas, these kind of guys. And a lot of them do agree that, they felt that Loma was a bit, obviously all credit to Lopez, aside from that. So when I had an injury, I just thought, right, okay, well, that makes sense, because my whole thing was that I felt that Loma wasn't, at his best, and the injury, so it's still what they're saying that it was an injury in camp, right? Like,
and yeah, they're saying it was a pre-existing injury coming into the fight,
right?
And he needed pain shots for from the commission prior to the fight. I think he had 2 shots altogether for pain relief. And
this was Egis Klimas who said this, right?
Yeah, his manager.
So, and he said that. So I'm so surprised why Lomachenko hasn't said anything. I've seen the video of the surgery, but I need to hear more. This is his manager speaking. I've heard his manager talk a lot of shit. When he was Kovalev's manager for the Ward fights and all that. And he's a bit of a character himself. So he said that Anatoly wanted the fight off and Vasily rejected it and threatened that he would retire. Is that his quote?
That's what was said in a lot of the reports online, that Lomachenko
right?
threatened to retire, yeah.
The thing is, go on.
I think that is believable. The type of character Lomachenko is and how ambitious he is. For him to then have a year out or 14 months out of the ring from the Luke Campbell fight to this fight, and then a shoulder injury which could have kept him out for another 4 months. That's a long time. That's almost a year and a half out of the ring before they even get the fight going. Maybe the fight would have fell apart. Lopez was already talking about moving up straight after the fight anyway. So there's a lot of factors that could have come into play that caused him to go ahead with the fight, if that makes sense. And just the way it looks, Lomachenko's obviously got a lot of pride, you know what I mean? He wouldn't want to be seen to pull out of a fight. So there's that side of it as well, I think. Ego came into it and pride.
Yeah, at the same time, I think, the type of respect he has for his dad. I mean, if his dad's telling him, but has Loma ever pulled out for a fight? It's like maybe he thought that Lopez wouldn't be. Because I heard another interview with Loma after, and he said something regarding that his size did give me.
Yeah,
I think it was a top rank.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. He said he went into more detail tactically, and he said that his size and stuff like that. So that made me think, you know what? He might have had an injury, and he might just have thought. But at the same time, is Loma that dumb? Like,
can't be that naive going into that fight. He knows it's a big fight. This guy's bigger, stronger, younger. I don't think he would have been that naive. I just think he didn't want to pull out personally. I don't think it was anything more than that. He didn't want to pull out and then have himself at the ring much longer. I think he just wanted to go for it.
I just feel like we're all just assuming and we need him to come out and speak.
Yeah, of course. It's the same with a lot of other fighters who we find out are injured as well, isn't it? It's one of those things we can never really confirm anything now at this point, and it's all 50-50.
Yeah, but the difference in this instance is that we haven't heard from him
directly,
and how much the injury affected his performance, because when we see other fighters fight, like Wilder, he said he injured his right hand before the first Fury fight, right? But he was still throwing it. We didn't see like a cage of Wilder, and he was swinging that right hand from his hip. You know what I mean? So the question about Vasily's performance is still there, still lingering. And now with the injury, and I don't understand why Teofimo and a lot of people are coming out and saying that it's a excuse and comparing it to Manny Pacquiao. How is this the same thing? We've seen footage from a surgeon's office of where Loma is sat with his injured shoulder, or the post operation video, and we've seen Manny Pacquiao bathe in salt water in the Philippines. So I don't get why Teofimo is trying to. I don't think Loma's using it as an excuse. It's just a fact. If a fact's a fact, it's not always an excuse.
And to be fair, it didn't come from Loma's mouth. It's come from his manager to save face or to plant some potential for a rematch.
It could
Loma
be.
probably wouldn't have come out. He wouldn't have come out and said it if he was down to him alone. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah, maybe not. Like I said, we haven't heard, so we don't know what. Maybe he's doing like a big video about it, like he usually does on his channel. So, just in terms of the injury itself, it's a shame, isn't it? Just injuries fuck up sports. It's one of them.
Unfortunately, yourself, similar to what someone like who you obviously admire, Andre Ward. How many times did he come to the ring with injuries and things that weren't right for him?
And Floyd and a lot of these people. But the thing is, we don't see them getting operated the day after the fight. This is like Dylan White, Joshua kind of thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So niggles, injuries, hands are going to be hurt, and hands are going to be hurt after a fight. But to get your shoulder operated ASAP, that says a lot. Says a lot.
It's clearly a severe injury then.
And then maybe they already had it scheduled before. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like I said, we need Loma to come out and speak. Teofimo has said regarding the rematch that fuck it, why would I give him a rematch, blah blah. And I'm pretty sure if they put the heavy money in front of him, he'll take it. He'll probably take it. But I understand Teofimo too, because if, like I said once again, if it's true, like Loma needs to answer this. Did you and your team not put a rematch clause in because of sheer fucking arrogance? Because that's what it is. There's confidence, but Mayweather has a rematch clause. Anthony Joshua, Joshua's a bit, it's not a 50-50 fight sometimes with him, heavyweights. But in regard to Mayweather, he has a rematch clauses. They have these things because they don't know what can happen.
You don't know what can happen, exactly.
You can fall and hurt your ankle. And so from Loma and his, Teo and his dad's point of view, they're like, you know what, this guy wasn't going to give us a rematch, so F him too. And I get that.
That's also fair as well, yeah.
I think it's fair, to be honest. If Loma, and you know what he said, that he went up to Loma after, and Loma still kind of sniggered at him a bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, Loma, listen, all right, I love your attitude, but even Jordan had good sportsmanship.
Yeah. Lomachenko does come across as arrogant at times, you know what I mean?
Wouldn't you?
No, of course, but I'm saying it's not always the best, way to take it, is it? You know what I mean?
Not after a fight. I think after a fight, it's like, why did Jamal Charlo get booed so bad after Julian Williams fight? Because Julian Williams went up to him, the guy who got smoked, right? Went up to him.
Ignored him, yeah.
And he just like, you know what I mean? And the whole crowd were going crazy that time, which it's just because everyone admires sportsmanship. Everyone admire, the way you are before a fight, which is, as you've seen with Khabib last night, you bottle a lot of emotions up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But people like to see someone who's a human and, just don't be a prick, basically.
Yeah, just show a bit of sportsmanship, a bit of class. People appreciate that, especially after the type of fight they had a good fight, a big occasion. You don't want to...
Yeah, I don't get how Loma isn't, you know what, you are somewhat like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm playing football, which is the sport I'm best at, and someone's talking loads of shit before, if this guy actually shows up and shows out, I'm going to shake his hand after and be like, yeah, man, like, okay. Do you know what I mean? You're a man of your word, basically. So, I don't know. I feel like Loma shouldn't have done that. But we don't know. Like I said, we need to hear more from him. I'm sure that guy interviewing him is not going to ask these questions, right? But I felt like that was a bit poor sportsmanship overall. So, maybe I get why. And I think that has ticked Teo off a bit, to be honest. I think it has ticked him off. And because when people ask him about the rematch, I can see that side of him being like, F him side. Which, if Loma would have been respectful, you know what I'm saying? Gone to the post-fight press conference. Once again, we don't know how bad the injury was, right? I mean, he stood in the change room. He looked all right, like he could talk and everything. Yeah. So those little things, I think, have ticked Lopez off, like that he kind of got rid of after the fight, and he kind of ticked off again now, like because it's the same thing that was ticking off before. And so yeah, I think my hope for the rematch has. I'm still pending on Loma coming out and saying something, but the way everyone's talking and going with it, I feel like it's dying down. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, based on what you're saying regarding the rematch, I mean, usually from what we've heard of the last few years with these open interviews with, Eddie Hearn and other promoters, rematch clauses with big fights do tend to be common practice. Obviously, whatever the reason it wasn't included in this fight. We'll never know. Whether it's arrogance or whatever, or just they decided to do a one and done and that's it. Obviously, Lomachenko didn't get the decision on the night. If they want a rematch, cool. Bob Arum said he presented to both of them, given the options. It's a big money fight, the rematch, no doubt, and it's a fight that all of us are tuning for again. And if Loma's 100% and Teofimo's 100%, it's going to be an amazing fight either way. But unfortunately, the fight's done now. Teofimo won. He doesn't need to give Lomachenko a rematch unless he actually wants it himself for valid reasons. If the money's good enough and he can make the weight properly again, then cool, let's get it on. It's not a fight that I'm necessarily dying to see. Obviously, I want to see it. I'm happy to see it if they put it on, but it's not a fight that I'm going to scream and shout for and say it needs to happen. It's done. Move forward, and we'll see what the future holds for everyone. And hopefully, Lomachenko moves down to 130 and he's 100% and he can go again there. He's got a lot of big fights down there as well. Obviously, we've touched on the injury, so I want to move forward from that now. And I still want to stick to Lomachenko, but not about the injury. Obviously, yourself, you're a big Lomachenko fan. I'm a fairly big Lomachenko fan. We appreciate what he does in the ring and the unique style he brings. Everyone after this fight, naturally, you see boxing fans are very fickle. The back and forth on Twitter, you see people picking holes in his resume and trying to find a way to discredit Lomachenko and say, oh, he wasn't that good. Let me just put it this way. He moved up from 130 to 135 and went straight in with Jorge Linares, who is a very good fighter. Maybe not as good now as he was then, but he's still a very good fighter for the WBA lightweight championship. He then went straight into Unify with Jose Pedraza, who's now fighting at 140, which shows how much bigger he was as well for the WBO, and unified those two. And then he went and fought a bigger guy again, Luke Campbell, for the vacant WBC and unified all three belts and brought that to the table to fight a young lion in Teofimo who's clearly going to go on to be something special. Fingers crossed. So in your opinion, how do you sort of take all this discrediting and this sort of just picking holes in what Lomachenko has accomplished? How does that make you feel as a fan?
Well, when fighters like Devin Haney and I don't know who else, but when fighters like that start talking that way, then what can you really say? It becomes, people are sheeps, and it becomes like a common kind of thing to say all of a sudden. I mean, Lomachenko is held in different standards. Look at his look at his first 5 fights. The guy's crazy. What did he fight? Gary Russell Jr. is his third fight or fourth fight.
Third fight.
That's the only loss Gary Russell Jr. is because he's a world champion right now. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I always felt like Loma was held to like different standards. This is his 15th fight. Look at his resume. It's unreal. You
don't see stuff like this, yeah, man.
No. And to be honest with you, I don't really. I think any boxing fan with half a brain cell knows. So when I see stuff like this online and I see everyone talking about what everyone else says online, I just don't care, bro. Like, I just think, yeah, whatever. You're an idiot. If you don't know this, then you don't know that. You don't know. You have missed out, basically. You've missed out. It's like we've had an amazing era of sports, right? Nadal, Federer, Ronaldo, Messi. These type of rivalries which people are going to talk about. Honestly, I think it's just a once in 100-odd years kind of thing that happens, right? And like we've seen Floyd Mayweather, how much did people discredit Floyd Mayweather, right? And I get it in certain ways, decision-making, personality, okay, but just look at what you see in the ring and judge that. And if you look at Lomachenko and you look at everything he's done and you look at it on paper and you watch the fights and you come to the conclusion that he was never as good as he was said to be, I get there's hype. That's hype with everyone, right? That's how a lot of people fell off on the Joshua thing, right? But still, use your own brain and watch boxing. Simple as that. And like I said, people are going to say whatever they want. I mean, I thought it was strange. Like I said, David Haney, what's the point coming out and saying that, That was a bit stupid. You haven't proven fuck all, You've literally done nothing. Your next fight is Gamboa. So, I mean, unless you've done it, like if Floyd says it, yeah? If Floyd says it, right, okay, that's Floyd. Floyd, we've known the way he talks about every other fighter that's successful or whatever anyway. But if Floyd says it, it's different because he's got some type of respect and he's done it. He's done everything, right, in this profession. So, but when people like Devin Haney and these idiots online say, I don't know, I just think whatever. I just think they're stupid and they missed out on an amazing fighter. But like I said, it's a very small percentage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of people like to talk shit online and discredit fighters after they take a loss. It's not that deep, I think. Like you said, if you've seen what he's done in the ring and how quickly he's done it as well, then, like you said, this is a very rare thing. Even I know Usyk isn't on the same level as Lomachenko as a pure boxer, but he did the same thing in terms of how quickly sort of he went through, through the gears at cruiserweight and, managed to become undisputed as well. So, you don't get these type of fighters very often, but Lomachenko is obviously, a special, generational fighter. And obviously we want to see what's next to him, and hopefully he can get back to 100%. And he's definitely going to win another world title. There's no doubt about that. And that would be a stupid thing to even kind of go back and forth on. We know what level he's at, and we know how good he is. So fingers crossed to be back in the mix soon. Whether that's at 130 or a rematch with Teofimo Lopez remains to be seen yet, but we'll see what happens in due course. Obviously, we touched on last week, so I wanted to move forward onto the next bit of news. This is more related to British boxing. Your boy Terry O'Connor has been completely let off by the British Boxing Board of Control for his shenanigans last week, or potential shenanigans, shall I say. It turns out, obviously, the person who posted that photo on Twitter, a photo is obviously a photo, a video is a video. A video then circulated showing him potentially holding his notepad and looking at that rather than looking at a phone. So obviously he got investigated and all that, and it didn't really amount to anything, which we said probably was going to be the case. He is their boy at the end of the day. So it looks like he's going to carry on judging and turning in shit scorecards either way. So what do you make of that?
I was just reminded this week that he posted, he judged the Ryder and Colin Smith fight, 117, 111 to Smith.
Yeah.
Which is just another little reason, to get pissed off. But like I said, with the picture thing, I did think that it was not likely that someone would be that, I don't even know what word to use, but, it's like sitting in a conference room and your manager's there and you just start playing some game on your phone, you know what I'm saying? And I just thought, I don't know if it was true or not. And sometimes I like to wait to really see the conclusion or like more proof of whatever's going on to make a judgment. But that aside, just because he didn't get caught with the phone, wow, really? You didn't have your phone out? What a great guy. Like, the guy's already incompetent. We know that. It's clearly to be seen. And like this is just like Robert Smith and coming out and just covering his own back, really. I bet we're going to see Terry Conner again in 2 months' time. There's someone that says something regarding the criteria that these judges need to be under. Like, back in the day, they used to have like Judge A, Judge B, and that was the way they were judged by these letters and what class they were in, and you had to work your way up. And if you made some mistakes or you made, bad decisions or whatever, then you went back down, right? So for the biggest fights, you'll get A-star referee, like they say, but you would actually beat an A-star referee. And I don't know if that goes on today, because how the fuck's Terry Conner judging main events? And this could be obviously judges or referees. I'm just saying in regards to like the way that these people need to be picked. So I thought that was a really good idea. There's an old school thing. I don't know if they still do it. And if they do, then obviously they sort the way they judge their criteria out. But I felt like that was a good idea. What do you think about that, right? Is it not like a step in the direction of something a bit better where they, some people said ex-fighters, get ex-fighters to do it. I don't want Johnny Nelson there. Judging a fight, Mr. Usyk is more Bellew is more technical than Usyk, Mr. Company Man Nelson. I've seen some of Carl Fudge scorecards. Wow.
Ridiculous.
You know what I mean? So what do you think about that I just spoke about in terms of the way they can kind of get judged then on the criteria and stuff like that?
So essentially what we're talking about is a tier system for judges, isn't it? So you work your way up through different tiers. Yep. You're a judge essentially being judged for your judging. Yeah. So that makes sense to me. I think that's a good, like you said, it's a step in the right direction of taking quality of judging, in fights in British boxing to the best possible place it can be. Of course, listen, people will see fights from different angles. Obviously, the judges are placed in different places, aren't they? So they're going to see different, angles, different punches landing, different punches missing. It's not necessarily the best view of fight, even though they say it is when you're sitting ringside. It's tough to, certain things are hard to kind of see, but some of the scores that are getting turned in are ridiculous, especially these 117, 111s and 119, 109 fights that are clearly competitive fights. This needs to stop. And you're stopping opportunities for fighters who lose, isn't it? And you're taking money out of their pocket essentially, which isn't really something we want to see. We want to see people who if they're working hard, whether they win, lose, or draw, if they worked hard, they're putting a graft not only through the training camp, but they got in there and they risked everything on the night. Give them their fair shake, even if they lose and it's 115, 113. Don't give it 119, 109. It's just bullshit, isn't it? So definitely, I think what you're saying about the tier system, that's a very good idea. That's something that they should potentially look into and start implementing if they haven't already got it. But again,
the viewing too, though. Like you just said, why are they sat in that position where they got a corner? Sometimes it's like, the ring isn't you can't see clearly on every single side of it.
No, you can't.
If they elevate a bit, if they're a bit elevated, same size as the ring, same height as the ring. I mean, I've sat there and watched the fight once. It was Amir Khan and Julio Diaz. We had like these shit tickets, and then we just kind of walked around and got to downstairs. That was a shocking performance. Yeah. Oh wow. I was gutted after that, but I remember, and I was sat kind of eye level, like same height level, if you know what I'm saying. And it was the best way to watch a fight. And you see it sometimes, don't you, when you see these programs like All Access or whatever, how they sometimes show it, like the camera goes around that level. And I think, I don't understand, why is it so backwards? Like, why would you want to sit on the bottom? You're sat looking upwards. You're supposed to see punches, not feet. You're supposed to see, you know what I mean? Their faces, the everything. Like, the punches are not that low. Why would you sit there? You want to sit from a better position. And I think that's something that needs to be done too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, imagine you're a judge now sitting there, obviously at the lower level that you're at, and there's a fighter with his back against the ropes getting punched. How many punches can you see landing on him? Are they glove shots? Are they catching on the elbow?
Exactly, yeah, 100%.
And how do CompuBox then, count these punches? CompuBox, we know, is they say openly that it's not 100% accurate, but how are you meant to count up? Where's that person seated? How do you count the punches that land? What counts as a landed punch? Is it just touching the arms? You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a lot of inconsistencies in boxing that need to be looked at to bring the force.
In judging especially. Is it not crazy how we're talking about a judge, right? If you talk about a judge, what's a judge's job? A judge's job is to seek, or not seek, but judge justice or injustice. Like, you need to sort out, this is the justice. You need to do the judgment, basically, right? On the case that's in front of you.
Your say is what goes,
Exactly. So you're judging, like in a court case, your last say, or it's a jury judge. I don't know the exact list. I'm not a lawyer. I've not studied law, but I know the judge is very important in a lot of cases, and the judge makes a final verdict. This is a judge's verdict, and the judge's job is to seek justice. Like, these people are summoned into the law degree. I'm sure they take like an oath, right, where they say that I will always do the right thing, and I'm gonna blah blah. You know, saying like doctors and these people do. So basically, Fat Terry is a judge, and his job is to do what a judge does, and he doesn't, right? So we're talking about a judge. Just listen to the word judge. I mean, you are literally the one person in this arena that should be fair than anyone else. That's your job. And if you, of all people, can't even do that, the judges. But I've heard, is it then corruption? Because are the judges shit, or is it corruption? Which way are we going with it? Because some judges, I've heard in podcasts and other people speak, because I listen to a lot, and they said that this judge said, well, if it's not me, it'll be someone else.
Then that means you're admitting corruption, then, doesn't it? Or incompetency.
Right.
Either or.
Right. Can't be incompetent every week.
No, exactly.
Be incompetent every fight.
I think there are some judges who are just incompetent. Some judges. However, I do think on a wider scale there is a problem with corruption in British boxing, 100%. And not just British boxing. This is across the world, but in this instance in isolation, then there's definitely a corruption side of it, especially when Terry O'Connor's an ex-referee. An ex-referee as well. So there's clearly an issue that needs to be resolved here. So something needs to be done.
Yeah, something needs to be done. Don't know how, don't know where. Obviously, it's up to the promoters. They need to say something. They need to do something. But at the same time, if the judges say, if it's not me, it's someone else, does that mean, like, if it's corruption, right? British Board of Boxing. Is that what it's called? British Board of Boxing.
British Boxing Board of Control. Control. I knew there was a C in there, obviously. All right. So they get money. Like, we need to follow the paper. To find corruption, you need to follow the paper. And somehow, somewhere, someone is doing something dodgy. And there's a link here between something. Is it the promoters? Is it the TV networks? Are they in talks with we don't know, because
it's hard. Who's going to tell us all this information, right? I think if you're in the business yourself, or if you're a promoter yourself and you deal with the board and you deal with other things, then you would have a better idea of exactly how it works. But I used to believe there wasn't corruption. I used to think, whatever, people are crying about stuff, but it's gotten to the point, where basically what the UK does is they just put a bit of flash over corruption, right? They put some nice lights, they put some nice production, they put some nice fireworks and smoke screen, basically BS in front of our faces, and then they rob people. We just don't see all these amateur shows and amateur kids getting robbed all the time. A lot of kids do use that as an excuse. Oh, I got robbed. But there is a lot of true stories of all this. And 2020, it needs to get started. So I don't know how can it get started? I don't know. But someone in charge, someone who knows someone, they need to sort this out, and hopefully it'll get sorted soon. And Terry O'Connor, I think this has gathered so much attention. The only problem is the phone thing might have vindicated him a bit, and I feel like he's going to be back very soon. So yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, like we said last week, I don't think anything will come of this. I think it's going to get brushed under the carpet, and with the schedule coming up, people are going to very quickly forget about things because our attention is just going to turn to other things, as it should, rightfully so. And on the topic of British boxing, I want to move on to the next little bit of news this week. I don't know if you managed to catch the interview with Kell Brook on IFL TV. Did you manage to catch that interview?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, so Kell Brook, obviously, as we've both seen the interview, we can get into that. Kell Brook's obviously, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a rant, but he's gone on to give some honest thoughts about his opinion on what's happened with his fight with Terence Crawford not being picked up by Sky. Obviously, he's been with Sky since 2012. So, yeah, I think 2012 he'd been with them, or even earlier, and he's been one of Hearn's main guys. I wouldn't say he's been one of his marquee stars, because I think Kell Brook, as much as he's had some big fights, he hasn't always been his top guy, but he's a guy who's been there for a long time alongside Carl Frost, Darren Barker, these sort of people. He's been there for a long time, and he's stayed loyal, and he's had some great nights with Sky Sports and Eddie Hearn. And obviously for him to now come out and say, look, Eddie Hearn wanted to go for money rather than spending a bit of money on my fight and putting me on Sky when I've been loyal, I stuck with them, all these things. Obviously it's sad to see, but at the same time you do kind of think to yourself, years ago James DeGale said he was with Mick Hennessy, he then jumped to Eddie Hearn, he then jumped to PBC, went to Frank Warren for one fight, back to PBC, and then went to ITV. He said, I don't hold any loyalty to promoters. I like the people I work with. I'm cordial, I'm civil, it's business, I don't get too involved. And he made a decent career, especially from like 2015 to the time he retired. 2-time super middleweight world champion, didn't stop himself from fighting around the world, didn't tie himself down necessarily, and he had a good run. So people like Kell Brook who stayed loyal, yes, it's catch-22. He still made a lot of money, he's had a good career, he's had a good run, but now obviously for him to say this and say that Eddie Hearn hasn't even spoken to him after the Mark DeLuca fight, or spoke to him at all during this build-up to the Crawford fight, it says a lot about Eddie Hearn. Obviously we all like Eddie Hearn as a character and what he's done for British boxing, but it does kind of make you think, okay, cool, he sees that after the Crawford fight, he does think that this is it for Kell Brook and there's not much value in him anymore. What's your opinion on that?
Kell Brook has been on pay-per-view facing Frankie Gavin, and is that his only pay-per-view besides the big fights? Was the Jojo Dan? Was that?
No.
That was a pay-per-view.
You're right. The only pay-per-view that he had outside of Golovkin and Spence, where he headlined it,
was Frankie Gavin.
But with that one, it wasn't just because he's fighting Frankie Gavin. It's because they sold that based on the undercard fights.
Undercard was crazy. I know.
Very good undercard. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know where Kell Brook's getting this sense of entitlement from, to be honest with you. I get when it comes to his own relationship with Eddie. I don't know. I don't care. Because Eddie's busy, right? So if I'm Eddie, if Kell's not texting me, it's like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to say. That's just his point of view, because he also said that Eddie had texted him and he didn't reply. So I don't really want to comment on another man's personal relationship, but in terms of business and what he put out there, I don't understand his. Okay, I get it, right? But he fought on Sky for so long. You were loyal. This is Sky Sports. You didn't have offers coming in You know what I mean? Left, right, center. I mean, from what we know, I'm pretty sure he didn't, because I'm pretty sure that he wanted those fights against Thurman and all these things. So really, Kell Brook, he should have gone to PBC years ago, and he should have went there, and he should have been on 147, because all the fighters were there. What was your idea? What was your plan? You know what I'm saying? You didn't even have any plan. So I'm just saying, like, this guy acted like he went there and he smashed everyone up and he's come back and he did it all for Sky, and when other people were like dying to get him. So I get it from both point of view. Like, I like to look at it from both point of view. I get Kell, you're thinking, bro, like, I fought on Sky my whole career, and whatever he's saying, or majority of his career, all his big fights, basically. And if Sky don't want to pick it up, you know, it's business. If they don't have it in the budget, you know, maybe he wanted a different type of explanation or like rapport with them. But, you know, he's not AJ, you know, he's not Sky ambassador. Sky don't give a fuck about you, Kell Brook. And that's because you've done fuck all for majority of your career. If you would have done a lot more when you had the chance, instead of calling out Khan and chasing his ass, then you might have had something or a leg to stand on. I don't agree with his sense of entitlement, if you know what I'm saying. I think he's done. What has Kell Brook actually done? This guy was getting praised for fighting Spence. Like, they made it out to be like, oh, we don't know what we're gonna do. And then it's like, when he announced it on his social media, it was like, if you want the belt, you're gonna have to come take it. Wow, bravo, bro. Do you want me to stand up and clap because you're fighting your mandatory? Like, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He acted like he did something so much for the people. And this is typical with UK fighters. They can, you know, like, if my brother, we make it and everything goes the way we want. You know how much money you can make in England by fighting like decent fighters, or like getting a decent title and just, you know what I mean? England, UK is easy to make a lot of money. And someone like Kell Brook, okay, he Sean Paul, like, just imagine his ceiling after a Sean Paul win. You know how much I love Kell Brook's style. He's always been one of my favorite fighters, right? I'm not speaking of when he starts getting lazy and he's like you can't really with like Carson Jones.
When he's on it.
When he's on it, technically,
brilliant fighter.
I just think the guy's so good. I feel like I learned so much from watching him fight. The way he throws his shots. You know, he's got this weird timing. It's crazy. It's such a good style to watch. And I was so excited to watch this guy. And I was so excited when he beat Porter. I was jumping up and down.
Same.
but you know, what have you done since but chase Khan? I mean, just Eddie is good at talking about other people's careers, management and mismanagement or whatever. Kell Brook, and like he said, which again, this is a good point, when he said that I saved your ass on the Golovkin thing. You know what I'm saying? But mate,
yeah, but I think one thing you have to say, obviously, Kell said, "Oh, you know, I stepped in and saved Eddie's ass for the Golovkin fight with Eubank."
That was his highest payday, though.
That was number one. Obviously, it was highest payday, the biggest profile he was going to get from that fight. Number two, previously, the week when they announced Canelo versus Khan, this is February 2016. Yeah, he fought Golovkin in September 2016. When they announced Canelo versus Khan in February of that year, there was an interview where Coogan interviewed Eddie Hearn, and it was quite a famous interview at the time because Eddie Hearn looked like he was about to cry when Coogan asked him about Canelo and Khan. He said that Kell Brook's been on the phone to me and said, "I want Golovkin, get me Golovkin. I want to one-up Khan, get me Golovkin." So I'm not saying that it would have been a serious inquiry or necessarily a serious conversation at that point, but the fact that he even said that shows that he just wanted a big fight, you know, a big payday. Because let's be honest, he fought Sean Porter. He then had the issue with his leg when he got, you know, stabbed. And then he fought Joe Jordan in his comeback fight, Frankie Gavin. He was out for 10 months, for Bizier, and then jumped in with Golovkin when he could have fought Jesse Vargas and became unified welterweight champion. So a lot of it also goes down to Kell Brook. This whole narrative about mismanagement, I hear that, but at the same time, a fighter has a choice, and his dad could have, you know, fought his corner, and they could have had a guide for his career in a safer way, but he still could have made a lot of money. Obviously, me and you would agree he was better off staying at welterweight in the long run. You know, that jump up, yes, as much as it was a fun little fight, while it lasted, it did permanent damage to Kell Brook, and I don't think we ever saw the best Kell Brook after that. Yes, for 6 rounds against Spence, he was very, very good, but I don't think we're ever going to see that Kell Brook again. So you got to take some responsibility at some point as a man, regardless of how intelligent you are as a fighter or as a businessman. You got to take some responsibility as well. But again, like most promoters and fighters, at some point a relationship does hit a brick wall, it does sour, and Kell Brook is closer to his expiry date than he is to being a fresh fighter. So at the end of the day, Eddie Hearn probably doesn't figure for Kell Brook moving forward. He might give him 1 or 2 fights after this, so this could be a retirement fight for Kell Brook, depending on how badly he loses, if he does lose. Yeah, it's sad to see, but at the end of the day, like you said, it's business. Shouldn't get too personal. If they're mates outside the ring, then keep that as it is, but move forward and see what's next.
He looked on it though, and that's what I was saying last week when we were talking about the fight being announced. I said I can't wait to hear and see his demeanor. See, has he got the eye of the tiger? What's going on with Kell Brook? And he looked. I mean, I heard everything. As a fan, if you're gonna get behind someone, you want them to give it their all. That's minimum, I think. And he sounded like this is like the biggest thing in his life ever, and it made me excited for it, And I just what was it he said? There was someone he said that. Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I've stayed in shape. I've always said I could make it for stay in shape. And it's like, that's exactly what I said last time, but obviously we're going to have to wait and see. But it's just like, why the fuck
didn't you
can you not just stay in shape, bro?
Yes,
like you but you know what? That is what he's thinking. And it's funny how he said, I don't want to think back on my career and regret, because that's what he said too, right? And so let's just see, because he's not really that old, is he? Is he 33, 32? They're not same age.
Yeah, he's a few months older than Khan. He's similar age. I think he's 1 year younger
31,
than
30, so the 32-ish, 31, 32, somewhere like that, right?
Yeah.
They're not 34, 5, 6.
No, they're not old.
I know Crawford is 33 now, so he's like, and I mean, what Kell Brook are we gonna see? Because at 32, and looking at, like I said, his last fight, just looking at the way he looked, I think this is gonna be a good fight, honestly. And if he's really on it, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna, what's he got to lose?
Yeah, go for it.
I think he feels so like he's chilling, And what did he say, that someone's going to be announced on Monday? Fight TV, probably, right?
More than likely, yeah.
Platform. So yeah, like I said, I'm not paying for that either, but I'll watch it.
Wow. Okay, cool. Fair. So yeah, we'll obviously touch on Kell Brook moving forward in the next few weeks when we start seeing a bit more build up towards that fight. Touching on obviously Eddie Hearn and UK promoters and fights. Saunders versus Murray has been announced for December the 4th at the SSE Arena in London. So the Saunders-Murray saga has actually been going on since April 2018. Is actually originally scheduled, got moved back to June. Then potentially it was meant to be in December 2018. This is all with Frank Warren. And then the fight fell through. Murray lost to Hassan Ndam on the Carl Frampton and Josh Warrington undercard, and then he said he was going to retire. But he had a few fights in between, which aren't anything to shout about. Somehow he's ended up in the top 15 for the WBO. He wasn't there in August, but he's ended up there in September. So we know what's going on there. So 2.5, nearly 3 years after the fight was originally scheduled, albeit with Queensberry Promotions, it's now happening on a matchroom card for the WBO Super Middleweight Championship rather than the WBO Middleweight Championship. We've seen Martin Murray fight at Super Middleweight against George Groves. Obviously, it's not really his weight. He's better off at middleweight. And to be fair, Super Middleweight probably isn't even the best weight for Billy Joe Saunders because he's not that much of a big guy. But what are your thoughts on this fight? I don't think it's a brilliant fight, but just to get Billy Joe Saunders out and get him a quick defense of his title, I get why they're doing it. But what are your thoughts overall on the fight, and how do you see it going?
Do you remember when he moved to Hearn and
meant to be getting the big fights?
But this is basically since the fight. When did the fight get announced? 2 days ago? Yesterday?
Yeah, 2 days ago. Yeah.
It was very recent, right? Since that, all I've seen online is people saying exactly that, right? Oh, wasn't he supposed to move to Eddie Hearn for the big fights? Okay. In the month of March this year, do you know where Billy Joe Saunders. Do you know what Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo Alvarez had in common? They were both in the same place. Do you know why? Because the fucking fight was done.
Yep, it was going to be announced
Like,
literally a week later.
I get it's fun to take the piss out of Eddie, and that's cool. Why is everyone acting like that fight wasn't done? It wasn't speculated. They were both in Las Vegas. Like, that's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a done fight. It's literally a done fight. So, and by no one's fault, that didn't happen, right? And then when they talked about doing it again, Billy said they wanted to cut his money, plus they wanted to give him less time, and which I respect this and I believe him, because why the fuck would he lie when he took it the first time? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, use your brain. The guy said straight up, I want to be at my 100% when I'm fighting Canelo. This is the fight of my life, and I'm going to be not walking into that ring.
Yeah, give yourself the best fighting chance possible.
100%. So I don't really care about the fight. I know Murray. I know he's durable, so it'll be better than watching him against someone I don't know. Could there be someone better? You know, I know he's got mandatory, Zach Parker. I think he's undefeated. Maybe that would have been all right, but I've seen him fight once or twice. I think he's a south. I don't remember his proper style, but I know he looked all right. He looked good. Like you said, Murray with the weight and everything, and when he's tired, he's come back. I think he lost to Ndam, did he not fight Ndam?
Yeah, he did. He lost to him in December 2018.
That's when he said he'd retire, right?
Yeah, and then he came back and fought a few more times. Yeah.
Right, okay. So it is what it is. I don't really care. I'm happy for Saunders to be out, and hopefully 2021 will be a big fight. How am I going to criticize Saunders? Before that, no problem. All the bullshit he was doing, wasting his time, and his career was kind of stalling. Who did he fight? Before he fought the super middleweight title. Did he fight William Monroe? Or who did he fight? Or was it someone after that? Like, he was fighting stupid shit. It was like Adili really well.
Yeah.
And before that, it was Chris Eubank Jr., right?
Yeah.
And then he fought Lemieux. And basically, the story of Billy Joe Saunders, isn't it? He will look when the Lemieux fight, then fuck Coulson. So we know that. But I can't criticize the man when he was signed to fight Canelo. So that's a fact. You know, we can look at opinions, we can look at assumptions. Let's look at the facts. He was scheduled to fight Canelo.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. And so now I don't care if he's fighting Martin Murray. And we know that obviously he just needs to have a tune-up, and we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, I mean, Billy Joe Saunders is one of those fighters where every year there's meant to be a big fight, or potentially, obviously, the Canelo one was signed, like you said, it was going to be announced, and then it was even going to be DAZN's big fight for the UK launch, wasn't it, in May? Obviously, that didn't happen due to COVID. Billy Joe Saunders, obviously, he's had a disappointing career for the last 4 or 5 years. After Andy Lee, he was out of the ring for a long time, and then, you know, year on year, it's just been, you know, stagnant and then stalling every time, and up until this year, and then this was meant to be the big one, and like you said, he had it in the palm of his hands, and then obviously COVID hit, so bad luck in that regard. Like you said, it's more of a tick-over fight. I expect Martin Murray to obviously give it a good go, because unfortunately for him, he's been on the end of some decisions where he could have potentially become a world champion. Sergio Martinez, you know what I mean? Those type of fights where he had great performances, but this is well past his prime. It's not his optimum weight either, so clearly he's just been brought in to give him a little payday as a British fighter, and obviously give him a little chance to become a world champion, but I don't see it happening. The other question I got, based not necessarily on this fight, but it's sort of a question that needs to be asked, is where does this now leave the WBA super middleweight champion Colin Smith, who hasn't fought since last November? They were saying that if Canelo doesn't fight before the end of the year, then potentially they're going to do Callum versus Billy. Where does Colin Smith fit into this picture, and how has Colin Smith been the champion who won the World Boxing Super Series, and then he's just gone on to be the forgotten man? How has this happened?
I think when people talk about bad careers lately, Callum Smith is like, I don't even know what to say about this guy. Eddie Hearn always refers to him as the #1 super middleweight. I don't think he's the #1 super middleweight. Yeah, I've seen him perform well against Groves, but I think he lost to Ryder. That kickboxer was kicking shit out of him. And I've just seen him look. I just don't think the guy's that good. I don't know. I just feel like people hype him up a bit too much. But in terms of, where he fits in, so what is said is he's waiting for Canelo. So, sometimes like in this moment in time, you know, if you go a year back, then I would echo the frustration. Right now, we don't know. In the next 4 months, we could have had Colin Smith and Canelo scheduled and nearly done, and we could have had Saunders or Callum Smith scheduled. So sometimes you have to sometimes give it a bit of time to see what happens, right? I get before this Callum Smith's career, but like it was looking like he was either him or Saunders were gonna get the Canelo fight. So you know when you're that close, it's like Khan territory, Mayweather. You're just like thinking, because sometimes you do get it or you don't. And the thing is, these people have a better chance than Amir Khan had, in my opinion, because they were just with better people, right? And they've got contracts, and you know everyone's in the same kind of mix. Not in terms of getting the Canelo fight, but I'm saying Saunders and Callum fighting, which I think is definitely going to happen next year. But just depending on if Callum Smith is waiting for the Canelo fight, you know, we got to see what happens. So I think hopefully that's why I'm happy the Saunders fight with Murray got announced, because just fight. Because instead of you waiting around and then you having the Murray fight in February, just fight Murray now, get out of the way, so then you can just wait. And then if not, you fight Andrade, because Andrade's moving up to 168. He's going to leave that belt alone. And I don't think he's scared of Williams. I just think he just thinks, why would I fight Williams? Probably for like 1.4 million or something, when he can probably get 4 or 5 million to fight Saunders. And it'd be, well, no, it'll just be him challenging. He'll actually be a mandatory, won't he, anyway? But whatever. So I think we got to give this 168 division, because of one man, a bit of time, because what we were all complaining about with the Saunders thing was happening in March. Like everyone just talking shit about Saunders and why is this not happening. So what if Callum Smith and Canelo gets announced in the next 4 weeks? Then Callum Smith's a genius for waiting. Do you get what I'm saying? So I don't want to. Callum Smith has been very disappointing. His career has, in my opinion, but I feel like right where he's right now, he's basically a centimeter away from either fighting a unification against Saunders or fighting Canelo. So I don't think that waiting is a bad option for him, because he's got a plan B, unlike Mr. Amir Khan. What was your plan B? Nothing. He can still go. It's a win-win. So Callum Smith, yeah, obviously forgotten man, everything. But right now, through the next 2 years, I think people are gonna get a grip, and everything's gonna be the way it should be, with fighting each other and mixing each other and everything.
Yeah, fair point. There's a lot going on at 168 right now, and the belts are not necessarily all available, especially with the WBC situation as well.
You know what? I just want to say one more thing. Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders are very, very lucky that Rocky Fielding went to Germany that time, because if Rocky Fielding wouldn't have went to Germany and won that regular belt versus that guy, whatever his name was, he was decent.
Yeah.
And then come back, and then Canelo's trainer saying to him, why don't you go 160, get this belt? Because the 168, right? Him moving up, then came the conversation of then going to 175. Do you get what I'm saying? I know he went down again, but I'm saying if that 168 belt wasn't as easy as it was, because it was right after Golovkin, they just wanted a quick fight. He wanted to go to New York. Oscar De La Hoya talked about that December New York time for years, and he would always want to fight in MSG. If Rocky Fielding hadn't done that, then Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, because it gave the trainer the idea of, you know, moving up a bit and taking a few more risks, because they knew that the opposition isn't Beterbiev at 175. It's not Callum Smith at 168. We can test the waters with Rocky Fielding, and then we can go for Kovalev. But my point is, the whole idea came from an easy belt grab, fake belt, regular belt grab, which was because of Rocky Fielding. And if all that didn't happen, the story wouldn't pan out now that Canelo would be at 168. And if he wouldn't be at 168 right now, then we can say that Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, they're lucky that he moved up, because otherwise, I mean, their careers was in tatters, right? Unless, I feel a bit sorry for Saunders, because he was going to fight Andrade, you know. Okay, did he take the drugs? Was it a nasal spray? How am I going to get angry at a guy for a fucking nasal spray? Do we know shit? No. But at the same time, a bit unluck. Now a bit more unluck, you know, COVID, whatever. So I'm interested now, and I think 168, because of Mr. Alvarez, it's gonna get interesting again. And the zone has got a lot of fights for him if they sort their stuff out. And the thing people don't understand right now when they said Saunders, why did he say no to the Canelo fight? Yeah, but he can literally fight Canelo in his next fight still after the Murray fight. Because who else is Canelo going to fight? There's only a few fighters at 168 that he's going to fight, and they're going to be in his next 4 fights, of course. So let's have a bit of patience. 168 is going to play out very nice, I think. You know, the zone's got a lot of the division. I know IBF plant is over there, but I think 168 is going to play out well, so I'm excited to see.
Yeah, those are all completely fair points. I wanted to talk about next, this weekend just gone, the card that was shown on Sky Sports in the UK and on DAZN in other territories around the world. Roman Gonzalez and Juan Francisco Estrada both featured on the card. This card was essentially there to sort of get them through their fights and build towards a rematch for them early next year. They said between sort of January and March, they want to get that fight on. Unification of the WBC and WBA belts. Superfly. So we saw Chocolatito beat Israel Gonzalez, 23-year-old durable little fighter who obviously he lost by unanimous decision. Chocolatito went out there, did his thing. He's actually looked pretty good since his comeback. Obviously, he was out for a while after the losses to Rungvisai, but he came back well against Yafai. He's come back, once again this weekend just gone. He's put on a decent performance, and he's won by unanimous decision, pretty wide on the cards. So he's done his part of the deal between him and Estrada, and then we got a fight of the year candidate between Juan Francisco Estrada and Carlos Cuadras. This is the second fight these two had. They fought first in 2017, where Estrada beat Cuadras, and then they fought again this weekend. Brilliant fight, great action fight. Estrada was actually knocked down in the fight, so he had to climb off the canvas and sort of come back into the fight. And I got to give Cuadras a lot of credit, man. This guy's very tough. He took some big shots in this fight, and he got stopped on his feet. TKO round 11. So like I said, definitely 100% one of the best fights of the year up to this point, and this sets up the Chocolatito rematch moving into the next year, first quarter. Like I said, unification, big fight, and it's a rematch of their fight from, I believe, 2012. Now, me and you have been pretty honest and open about this when discussing people like Chocolatito and Estrada and that sort of weight class. We haven't necessarily always followed the little men as strongly as we have sort of anyone above sort of 126 and onwards. So with me, my sort of story of Chocolatito started back in 2015 when he fought Brian Viloria on the undercard of Golovkin and Lemieux. So I
think that's where I watched him too.
There you go. So we essentially caught him sort of midway or towards the back end of his first career, shall we say? Or his prime.
I mean, let's be honest. We didn't. I don't know when he was even shown. In the UK.
Yeah, no, fair. That's what I'm saying. So
a lot of people. It's not because you know how people say that. Oh, I don't watch the little guys. I'll watch anyone.
Yeah,
I literally watch anyone. But as soon as there was obviously I was an Andrew Ward fan, and when they put him as number 1, I felt a bit of it.
I remember you being
like a
picture about that.
Yeah, it became a fanboyish because and then obviously as soon as he got a bit of light, he got KO'd. So I was like, yeah, look at this. Well, how can you put this guy number 1? But I did watch the fight. What was the guy called? Brian Viloria.
Gonzalez. Oh, sorry. You're talking about the fight and the Lemieux undercard, yeah?
I think
Brian Viloria. Yeah, the guy who does some mad skipping.
Yeah, skipping. I remember the way that Gonzalez threw that right hand in that fight. He was like leaning forward and he proper sold him. He sold Viloria and it's so bad. And I was like, wow, how did he? I've never seen anyone hit that shot that way. And since then, I gained a lot of respect for him. And the comeback against Yafai, that was amazing. That shows that was a great comeback, real championship. Yeah. You can certify yourself in a sport. So it's not like I wanted to be disrespectful or whatever, but he's shown himself. The guy is legit. And he smashed up all these people anyway, so I can't wait to watch the Estrada rematch.
Yeah.
Gonzalez won the first fight, right?
Yes, it was tight contested fight, but he won the first fight, yeah.
Right, I've not seen the first fight, but you know what?
I'll send you a link tonight.
I can't wait for this fight. I think it'll be an amazing fight, and it's one of them fights where you think, it's not a high-speed chess match because sometimes just shots are thrown just for the fuck of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it gets to the high speed chess match, but they go for it. So you know how we had criticism with Loma if he couldn't kind of see the shot, he don't throw it. These lot, they don't care. Like they'll have the high speed test mark. They'll obviously figure each other out. They'll be set up shots. They'll be very obviously. You see how Gonzalez. I mean, his blend. It's not Lomachenko. The style is more of, you wouldn't call it a brawler, but he's still the way technically he's moving and thinking and countering and slipping. It's amazing, you know. So I wish I would have followed this guy's career. I wish I would have known about him earlier, because I know people who say that he's done some amazing stuff in the light divisions. So I just feel like tight on myself. I'm like, why did no one put me on this guy? I wish, do you know what I mean? I wish I could have followed someone like this career. And then imagine they did that comeback, because I know the people who watched that comeback against Yafai and how he knocked him out. He knocked him out with one shot.
Yeah,
he knocked him out with one shot. Yeah, Yafai. I mean, I didn't want to get started on his career, yeah, but that one shot knockout. I know people who were so down when Gonzalez lost, who now, you know, and I love that. I love people when they follow someone's career, the ups and downs, and the jubilate in the emotions in that moment. And I wanted to feel that. I did feel it a bit because I was happy for him, but I just wish that I would have followed him a bit more.
Yeah, of course. And the same.
That's going to be a top fight, though.
I feel the same way as well. But again, you know, Juan Francisco Estrada sort of carved out his own little path for the last few years, and he's sort of worked his way into the pound for pound list on a lot of people's lists. Maybe not for yourself, or maybe not for me, but he's a top level fighter. So these two are.
And he just beat Rungvisai, who beat Gonzalez. So
yeah. So
Rungvisai comes back, and they all start fighting each other. And even Quadras should fight Rungvisai next.
Yeah, look.
Have they fought?
I can't remember. But again,
I'm sure. But a lot of these fighters, you know, the good thing about all these fighters is because they've never had the big money behind them. They don't, you know, in the sense like what the big ego fighters do at the highest level. These fighters, they all fight each other. They all fight each other, and like Estrada is the way and the punch volume in this fight. You know what I mean? And the thing with Gonzalez and Estrada, why I would be more excited than if Quadras was fighting either one of these, is because, and Quadras is sick, but these two are more technical.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? They're thinking fighters, very fast thinking fighters, because they don't wait. They don't. But that's just their style in the light division. They go for it, you know. And
yeah.
Honestly, I can't wait, man. I think it's gonna be a proper brawl.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
brawl.
It's gonna be a great fight.
A technical, but there's still the amount of punches these fighters throw. You know, when you're used to watching bigger guys and you watch these, you're just like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, it's gonna be a great fight between two obviously very gifted fighters. I think it's taking place either 7 or 8 years after the original, so it's a long time. And obviously, Chocolatito's obviously
they're finally getting the limelight that they deserve. You know,
yeah, they deserve it.
And
you got to give credit to people like Tom Loeffler, who put on those Superfly cards all those years
yeah.
ago. And now it's carried
Even
over.
Though I had
happening
for them too.
Yeah. Oh my god! But at least it's paying off now, and people are going to tune in for that. And that's going to be a big fight. Obviously, it's not going to be big to level over like a Fury or a whatnot, but it's going to be a big.
No,
fight.
But it's a boxing fans.
Hardcore boxing.
But hardcore. I mean, so there's hardcore, and then there's like me and you. We're like, there's hardcore who followed Roman Gonzalez from the beginning. Those are like hard nuts.
Yeah, those are.
And then there's like the normal hardcore, but
yeah.
There is another level of hardcore that is like, you know, I think
they are fucking they call those fans boxing hipsters. I don't think me and you are hipsters. We're not there yet. We're working our way up the tier system. We're gonna get there one day.
I don't know about hipsters.
But so obviously, look, great performance by both men on the weekend. They've kept up their part of the deal, and now that rematch.
And the other guy fought Martinez.
Yes.
The guy who knocked out Charlie Edwards.
Yeah. Martinez fought on the undercard as well.
He's so explosive.
Good. He's dangerous. He's a little.
He doesn't care, does he?
Yeah, he's got batteries, man. He's non-stop. You know what I mean? He's just walking forward. He's big. He's strong at the weight.
Explodes.
Yeah. He's going to be a very interesting fighter to watch moving forward. I'm sure someone with some proper boxing skill, once I get in with him, I think he'll get out of box. But he hits hard and he's strong.
Could be.
Yeah, but he's a good little fighter. Someone to watch.
Charlie Edwards up, innit?
Yeah. He got very lucky, Charlie Edwards, that the guy hit him when he was down, and then he ran to the next weight class.
Yeah.
So got very lucky. Otherwise, he would have won that night and become world champion. But it is what it is. That's done. So again, congratulations to both men. They'll be meeting in the first quarter of next year. Moving on. Last week we spoke about the potential Fury fighting in the UK on December the 5th. It has been confirmed by Tyson Fury on Instagram. He is fighting on December the 5th in London. So he's coming back to the UK after two years. away in America. So the opponent hasn't been confirmed yet, but they're still touting the names of either Edric Caballel, the guy who beat Derek Chisora a few years back in Monaco. Good little fighter. And then Carlos Takam, obviously a veteran heavyweight who's been in with some of the best fighters out there. Anthony Joshua and Povetkin, names that come to mind. And also Joseph Parker as well. So
Derek Chisora.
Yeah, Derek Chisora, well, I didn't count him because he's a gatekeeper. But anyway, so, Takam, that'd be a solid opponent considering the way things have gone. And even Caballel, he's not, an amazing fighter, but just to get out in the ring and to get a fight in for Fury, I'm not going to complain, to be honest. Obviously, Michael Hunter would be the ideal choice for everyone because he's a good little fighter. He'd give Fury some problems, I'm sure. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen. It's probably a risk they're not willing to take, and maybe there's too much going on. But Takam or Caballel are the two that are being thrown around right now. So either one of those, I'm happy with those. And then the following week, obviously, we've got Anthony Joshua versus Pulev that was announced. Joshua did an interview this week on Sky Sports saying that he's going to steamroll through Pulev. So I wanted to ask you about Anthony Joshua. Obviously, we know what Joshua used to be. He used to be, as he said, a guy who just comes forward and bludgeons people, right? As obviously he became a world champion, he started to box more after the Charles Martin and Dominic Brazil fights. Still keeping obviously the big hitting and action type fight, but then we saw another side to him last year against Ruiz in the second fight where he could box and use footwork and get in and out quickly. In your opinion, what's the best style for him to use coming into this fight against Kubrat Pulev?
Yeah, the last time we saw him was against Ruiz, and you know how people say that he should have engaged more or that he has become gun shy? Well, you have to understand the style, and like a lot of people do, a lot of people don't. But the people who do understand know what I'm talking about. And you can't engage Ruiz in a type of way which would give him a massive advantage. That's Ruiz, right? So I think it was interesting to see everything unfold and how AJ spoke about dealing with the fight. He spoke a lot about a lot of the mental state and those type of things. And I was more interested in the technical, not more because the mental side is interesting too. But in terms of that fight, it's a fight which you can't train harder for. Do you understand? You can't train harder and think, right, I'm just gonna be stronger and more fit. And no, this guy needs to be dealt with a certain type of way. And the way he moved, as for everyone, when we saw him, the first couple of clips we saw of him, and then when we saw him in the ring and everything, the way he moves around, obviously on the way and everything, but the way he moved around was very surprising. I mean, most people who know how to fight a pressure fight like Ruiz and whatever, everyone said that he has to fight him this way, but can he do it? Right? Like Ben Davison came out and said like he can't step backwards and keep his lead hand out. He's too stepping forwards with it. You know what I'm saying? Like he can't do a kind of Fury and whatever. Which I agreed with, because it was impossible for me to see AJ do what he needs to do. I still think he could win, but to make it easy, basically. Yeah. But that was because he basically did like not a Fury performance, but in terms of, how consistent Fury is with his style and his herky-jerkiness, like the first fight, okay?
Yeah.
Wilder fight. He was so consistent with his movement. He'll step aside, then he'll start again, he'll stop. And he was so consistent with it. We've seen Joshua fall in conditioning and other aspects, but, seeing that, I mean, for me, I couldn't believe it. And I'm not saying that he did amazing offensively, but the movement itself is such a...
Very smooth.
What everyone said about him was he's big, stiff, robotic, whatever.
Proved the opposite in that fight.
I've always seen him be good at counter punching. I've seen him do the pull counter. I mean, he does the pull counter. I'm not saying I've seen it, but people don't mention it. I don't get why. I've seen him, in the Brazil fight.
He did the pull counter to win the world title against Martin twice when he caught him. It was a pull counter. That's what he did.
Exactly. And how beautiful, what technical was that shot.
Yeah, amazing. Knocking down both times.
If you're talking about technique, did that not look like Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah, man. That was it. That was amazing.
But why did no one talk about the shot?
Because people don't want to give Joshua credit.
Yeah, and it's not fair, because look at the Brazil fight. I mean, he did the technical things you do in a Brazil fight, like
Yep.
standing
He
there,
boxed him.
catching,
Yeah.
shooting him back.
Yep.
Just he was doing a lot of good things. I've always thought that he's a thinking fighter. I listen to him speak. He's an intelligent guy. He knows what he's talking about. I just felt like he didn't have the right trainers. And I'm not saying Rob McCracken is not the right trainer for him. I'm saying sometimes a Rob McCracken is born in the UK. Okay, he knows the basics. He knows what you need to do.
European ABC and all that.
Yeah. And he knows more than ABC because look where he's got to in
Yeah,
life.
obviously. Yeah.
But in terms of like what Joshua needed for that fight, what Joshua needed was more of a Fury thing. Like Fury should have trained him for that fight, and do you get what I'm saying? But
he needed a more fluent style where he can put his punches together and move.
Yeah, exactly. And when coming in with the new trainers he's got and everything, they were perfect. If that first Ruiz fight, if he didn't get caught in that exchange, he might have never had changed up.
Yeah.
And he said that he's been suffering from something, which happened before the first fight, and which made him feel there was a lingering question going on because something was wrong. Everyone knew something was wrong, and he admitted something was wrong, and it was something that he had got sorted. That's the only thing he said. Right, to Mike and Bunsen, if everyone wants to listen to it, I think it was the podcast after or before the second Ruiz fight. He said something to them. So he has an issue, right? And if that first fight wouldn't have gone the way it did, right? So what I'm in this long-winded answer, I'm basically saying that.
Yeah, I was going to say, wrap it up, man. What are you doing? You gone back to 2019?
I feel like the two trainers that he's got with Rob McCracken is the perfect balance.
Yeah.
Because Rob McCracken is someone he respects more than anyone, right? And these two are the perfect blend. But obviously, there is a lot to be seen yet, But like I said, he improved so much. I loved his the way he kept his lead hand out, always busy. That's what he needed to do. But everyone knew what kind of he needed to do to keep offsetting Ruiz and stepping and making him step and step aside, like keeping offset in his rhythm and everything. But it was shocking that he did it, and he said a lot about going with the flow, not forcing things. You know what I'm saying? I've seen some of his training he put out recently. He's still been working with, and I'm not talking about that crazy pad work video. There was someone on YouTube I seen the other day.
Yeah.
Working with the same trainers, and I think we're gonna see Joshua, like we saw in the second Ruiz fight. From the beginning, touching him, and then hopefully he sticks to what he says and just goes with the flow, like I always say. Because that's what he said works for him. Don't try to knock someone out. Don't look for anything. Look in the Povetkin fight. A lot of people said, "Why is he standing so low? Why is his lead hand low? Whatever." Did he knock the guy out? Was that the low lead hand was the reason for why he won that fight? Right? Because he started setting it up with the jab to the body.
Yeah.
So everyone might say, "Oh, well, is it?" But it's about the result. It's not about the look. All right. Also, secondly, in regards to the Pulev fight, Pulev, okay, he's tall. That's a good thing. So we're not going to see the same type of Joshua.
Yeah, exactly.
That we saw against Ruiz. This is the perfect fight for AJ.
Get his confidence back.
To show
his power.
Get his confidence back. Show good combination. And I'm pretty sure, like we said with his interview, he basically said what everyone wants to see, right? And he said late, didn't he?
Say what, sorry?
Did he say that he's going to stop him late? He didn't say.
No, he just said I'm going to steamroll through this guy. Is what he said. And the reality is, look, sorry to cut you off here, but Pulev, listen, the guy is obviously he's an accomplished, fighter. He's done well. He's never been a world champion.
What was his last fight?
When was it?
Yeah, and who was it against?
I can't remember who it was against last year, but he had a fight last year. Obviously, recently.
Did he not fight someone?
The people
he fought. He's not been inactive, has he?
He's not been completely inactive, no. He fought on a top rank card last year, didn't he? When he kissed that woman and ended up in that really sexual harassment.
Jenny Sushi.
Yeah, whoever it was. Yeah. So yeah, Pulev, look, like you said, big tall guy, well schooled. He's got a very good jab, but he's out of his prime now. Even when he was in his prime, he fought Klitschko and he got bloody caught with the left hook 4 times and got knocked out. Of course, not taking anything away from him. He's beat Fury, Derek Chisora. He's gone on and had a decent career after that. But he was initially meant to fight him in October 2017. So this is 3 years after he was originally meant to fight Joshua the first time, and Takam had to step in last minute. I don't see this fight going very long. I think Joshua can pretty much go out. I'm not saying go out there and throw all your technique out the window. He needs to be careful because Pula's a big guy, and if he lands funny, then problems, and you don't want to cause any more problems before the potential Fury fights. So he needs to get out of this with a big win and a big knockout. So I do see him before round 6. I think this is done, and it's a brutal knockout for Joshua.
Yeah, it's important that he looks good in this fight,
and he makes a statement, like you said.
This is the biggest selling point
for that Fury
fight.
100%. And Fury needs to do the same with this fight. If he can stop a Takam where Joshua didn't stop him in 12 rounds, again, I'm not saying that means he's a bigger puncher than him, but at least it shows that, Fury's on it as well. If both guys go in with stoppage victories going into a potential build-up for their fight, imagine how much people are going to lap that up, and it's going to show, these are the two best out there now. Forget Wilder, forget everyone else, forget Dylan White. They're not on the same level. These are the two guys who need to get in the ring next year. So obviously, I think we're both in agreement. He's going to go out there, he's going to do a job. As long as he doesn't get caught.
And look good, most importantly, look good.
Yeah, the main thing is look good, show you still got the power, and show you still got the
good combination. It's going to be like a proper, we're going to see so hopefully he mixes everything the right way and does what he needs to do, which I'm sure everyone knows.
Yep, no doubt about it. I think he's going to look good, but again, we've got...
I just think Fury should have fought, Fury needs to fight someone tall. Why would he fight someone short before you're going to fight Joshua?
To prepare him for Joshua, true. But yeah, Fury, we've seen he can do it all. So, and he struggles with short fighters generally, doesn't he? So look what happened with Wallin, look what happened with who did he fight at cruiserweight?
Everyone's short to him anyway.
Steve Cunningham. Okay. Yeah, true. That's true. Anyway, so this weekend, Halloween weekend, we've got obviously a big number of cards on. We've got a Top Rank card, we've got a Showtime card, and we've also got a Sky Sports card as well. I want to start off talking about the Top Rank card. We've got Inoue making his debut for Top Rank, defending his unified WBA and IBF titles against Jason Maloney. Originally, this fight was meant to be against John Real Casemiro as a unification of the 3 belts, the WBA, IBF, and WBO. For whatever reason, that fell apart after COVID hit, and Maloney had to step in. Maloney's obviously a decent little fighter. He's fought for the world title back in the 2018 in the quarterfinals of the World Boxing Super Series. He lost against Emmanuel Rodriguez, who was the guy that Inoue went on to stop in the semi-finals, leading to the final against Danae. So Maloney's a good little fighter, but I don't see this being very competitive. I think within a few rounds, he's going to break him down and stop him very, very badly. Inoue's a strong little geezer, got a lot of skill, and he's vicious. Of course, he hasn't fought since last November, I believe, when he fought against Danae in the fight of the year of 2019. What a fight that was, what a story going into it, what a story in the ring, and what a story coming out of it with those two. Great story, great advert for the sport as well. So Inoue against Maloney, what are your thoughts of this fight?
I mean, I was really excited for the Casemiro fight, and because Casemiro knocked out Tete.
Yes.
And crazy. And his post-fight was insane. I thought, wow, this guy's crazy. I know he's got main man Sean Gibbons with him. So I was really excited for that. I was like, this is going to be unbelievable. I mean, obviously Inoue against Donaire made me think of him a bit more as a boxer, right? Which makes him more interesting, but at the same time, someone like Casemiro just got no fucks given. Coming in with that attitude, just no fucks given, and he's good technically. He's got pop too. I was so excited with that fight. Now, I don't know why it didn't happen. Someone said some money things or whatever. So this fight is gonna be. It's actually probably, obviously it's not as good as a unification, but it's nearly just as good. I seen Maloney against Rodriguez. He put up a hell of a performance. And that's on the top of that, his brother got signed by Top Rank and stuff. You know what I mean? They were really impressed with him. I know his brother just lost and he's going to have a rematch. So watching now anyway, is this on in the UK?
I've not seen anything against Top Rank card. It should be on BT, but they haven't announced it, so I don't think so.
Man, it's not going to be on BT. When a BT shows shit, they're only showing Canelo GGG of international fights besides Fury ones and stuff. Right. So obviously we're gonna watch it the next day, on Top Rank YouTube highlights, innit? No, but I think it's gonna be great. Anytime Inoue's fighting is great, and I mean, if he knocks this guy out like he did Rodriguez, because that was disgusting. Like when you were watching the Rodriguez fight, was it the semi-final, right? Yeah, we all thought this is gonna be his biggest test so far, whatever.
Yeah, but 3 or 4 rounds, you had him out of there.
Like, with the hipsters, like I said, was following Inoue's career for like properly. But the guy was nothing. It was nothing for him. It was amazing, the way, and then the Nair fight, the bottles he showed in that fight.
With the cut as well.
He showed real character with it wasn't a cut, was it? Was it not just like a damaged eye?
No, he had a cut.
Right, but he had a damaged eye, right? And the crazy thing was that he said he picked that up from Donaire. How to
when they used to
protect
spar.
it.
Yeah, when they used to spar back in the days. Yeah.
And he said he watched Donaire
down
against
Donaire.
Rigo.
Yeah.
So I love Inoue. He's a beast. I love his explosive combination punching. The guy gives no fucks. And
he's a good boxer, man. He's shown that he can box, and he showed now that he can go 12 rounds against someone who's
his combination punching. He's so unbalanced, and he puts so much. He's so explosive. His combination punching are so fast, and he's so still on top of his feet in a weird way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't see people maintain power in every shot the way he does. He come in, throw 3 shots, and the fourth and fifth will still be like really talking it. Guy's insane. That left hook's insane. So yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, no, listen, it's not necessarily something that I can see myself staying up for all night, if I'm being honest. But I don't think it's going to be a long fight. Put it that way. I think he's in a.
But if Santa Cruz and Tank's fighting.
Oh yes, sorry, yes.
So might as well just stay up and watch both fights.
Yeah, might have to stay up actually. Yeah, good point. And that. So your prediction for that fight, Maloney, do you reckon it's going to go long, or do you reckon to stop him early?
Let's just say anyway, KO, body shot, left hook. The most obvious answer, but it feels nice being right, so I'm going to go with
that. Fair. So yeah, Inoue, Maloney, WBA, IBF, Unified Championship. I think we know who's winning that one unless something crazy happens. Inoue for the win. And as you just mentioned there, which completely slipped my mind, that is the next fight we're going to discuss. Gervonta Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz for both the WBA Super Feather Championship and the WBA regular 135-pound lightweight championship. Now, the fight is actually being contested at the super feather limit of 130 pounds, but they're calling it a winner takes all, 2 belts on the line. Not really sure how that's happened. I remember back in 2014 when Mayweather fought Maidana for the second time, they allowed that to be a defense of both his WBA 147 and 154 titles and his WBC 147 and 154 titles. As he was a dual title holder in both weight classes, both WBC and WBA allowed him to count it as a defense of both. So I'm assuming that the WBA is allowed because they're both WBA, world champions or title holders, shall we say. They've obviously come to some sort of agreement, worked out well for the WBA as well. They get double the sanction fees, and it adds a bit more to the fight when they're advertising it as a winner-take-all for 2 belts. So obviously Tank at 130, Santa Cruz from 126 has gone to 130. For me, this fight is obviously two well-rounded boxers who've Santa Cruz specifically, who's accomplished a bit more than Davis, but obviously he's the older man as well. He's done pretty well in his career. Santa Cruz, he's had some good fights. Carl Frampton, and he's done well. He's got a good skill set, throws a lot of punches, decent boxer, especially in the rematch with Carl Frampton. He outboxed Carl Frampton. A lot of people didn't think he'd be able to do it, but he did it. Going up against a guy who's just a little beast in Davis, lacks a bit of discipline. He's lost the title twice on the scales before fights, so he's got that issue. But Tank is a beast, man. The way he beat Pedraza to win his first world title back in 2016. The kid has got a lot to give, and he's going to be a big star, I think. And I just think he's too big. I think on the night, Santa Cruz, he's not a very big guy. This is not his weight class. I think he might be able to hang in there for a few rounds with his long arms and combination punching, but as soon as Tank starts stepping to him, I think he's going to bust him up and stop him. So yeah, I don't think it's going to end very well for Santa Cruz. What's your opinion on that?
Well, is Tank Davis even going to make weight? That's firstly. Has he? When was the last time he made 130? I know he couldn't even make 135 last time. So I know he's got like a 4-month training camp with sweatsuits on to make the weight. I think, the WBA situation, I mean, when he said that they agreed to, I mean, Like, they probably invited that. They were on the phone to him, said, yeah, just 20.
Yeah.
Listen,
Man,
60 more percent,
yeah,
and you can get the 135 title too.
Yeah. Buy one, get one free. Yeah. No.
Buy
Yeah. Fucking clowns.
So, yeah, that's just, I mean, you know how people say that, even hardcore fans can't understand what the fuck's going on. How is boxing or the casual fans gonna understand this situation? WBA are just a joke, whatever. Kind of just giving them airtime, to be honest. So the fight itself, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I've never seen Santa Cruz get a wobble besides Frampton, and Frampton's a pretty heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And Frampton's at one.
He's at 130.
Is he at 130?
He's at 130 now. He moved up. They both moved up. Yeah.
So wow, so they're all in the same weight class, these lot.
Yeah.
Right. Shakur Stevenson too. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, I can see what you said, and that's most likely the obvious and most common pick, like if you're gonna put your money down on it. But how strong is Tank really? He couldn't even drop Gamboa properly. Like,
Gamboa's a tough guy, man. Come on, he's
Gamboa got stretchered 2 fights before. He got knocked out like cold. Like, I've seen him get hit and then just like drop to the floor, Dylan White style.
Did you fight 2 fights before?
I don't know if it was 2 fights before, but it was recently. Gamboa. I remember last time I seen a highlight of Gamboa, he got like sparked. 100%.
Who was that against?
I don't know who was it against, but it was before he fought. It's probably his last. It was not like his last recent fight, but it was probably 4 fights ago or something. But I don't think he's fought anyone since. Do you know what I'm saying? And the guy had a foot injury.
Yep.
And he barely stopped him, right? So I gotta sometimes think, right, okay, is Tank's power? I love Tank style-wise, explosive, but the people he sparked, okay, Pedraza, did he knock out Pedraza? He stopped him,
he stopped Pedraza, yeah.
That was amazing.
Great.
Look, obviously that shows he's got power.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Pedraza, I know. I'm not trying to diminish everything, but Pedraza also said that weight things. And
of course.
Right. So I mean, we don't know, but that fight, if you look at that fight, and not as recent, and think about the level that he showed in power specifically, because I know combination punching wise, explosive wise, he's got good defense too. Well, yeah, he has got good defense. When he's on it, like in the Pedraza fight, did you see how well he fought? He was on it. So. But just power-wise, like, I'm just thinking of a KO, because that's really what is going to catapult his career. If he KOs Santa Cruz, it's massive.
I think he will. I think he's a stop him.
But what makes you say that? Because Santa Cruz has never been dropped. I've never seen him dropped. I've never seen him stop.
The way I look at it, yeah, Santa Cruz, for me, obviously, he's not a big guy, generally speaking. Yeah, he's quite slim and lanky. And
he's massive. I mean, he's skinny.
Yeah, he's skinny. He's skinny. He's tall, but he's not a big guy in terms of thickness. Yeah, he's quite slim and slender build. That doesn't mean that he's a pussy and he's getting knocked out. I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying, in terms of moving up to this weight class, I don't know if this is the best weight class for him, and going against a guy who generally struggles to make weight, and he's always got a big, strong guy.
Struggled to make 135.
Exactly. He's always struggled to make weight. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah?
So this is 130.
Yeah. This is 130, so he's going to definitely struggle here, even with the long training camp. Because, again, he's got a clear issue with discipline. He's lost his world title twice on the scales. Yeah. So even if he doesn't make weight, they're not going to call the fight off. He's just to pay a fine and get in the ring. Yeah.
Because he'll just defend his 135 belt.
That's it. Yeah.
That's
so
the point, probably.
He can't lose anything, can he? Exactly. Get in the ring and just smash up Santa Cruz, and that's it. I get what you're saying about Santa Cruz not being wobbled, blah blah blah, but he ain't stepped in with a guy this big. You know what I'm saying, in terms of thickness and explosiveness
and power.
And power, like I said, he's got the power. He's a bigger, stronger guy. This is more just an excuse for Mayweather Promotions and Ellaby and these lot to get Santa Cruz, to get Davis on pay-per-view. They've been saying for 3 or 4 years, they ain't managed to do it. This is the perfect fight for him. And you know that Santa Cruz named his son after Al Heyman, right? He's Al Heyman's like bum chum, and he loves him, yeah? So obviously he's been promised a big pay-per-view fight.
Wouldn't you? Imagine just getting paid millions for fighting just randomers.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is he's managed to get onto pay-per-view, and he's obviously, they managed to put a big fight together, essentially, with 2 names. It's probably not going to be bought by a lot of people at $75 in America. That's a separate issue. Probably going to make a big
How many buys?
How many buys do you think it'll do?
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, Charlo's didn't do that well, but I think Santa Cruz and Davis are bigger names, and they got bigger followings in it in terms of from people from their area and whatnot. Less than 100.
I think he'll do 100. I think he'll do 100. I think he'll do 100 plus 100. Not more than 150 though. But it'll be around there.
I'd say just under 100 probably. I'd say
that'll be. I think if it's 150, that'll be a good number for them. Good indication of where he's at.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz is a big name.
He's a big name. Santa Cruz is a big name. Yeah. Joante Davis is not as big as. I don't think he's as big as I think.
Did you watch that arguably? Did you watch all the All Access episodes?
No, it's on YouTube. I need to give it a watch. I haven't had a chance.
Oh, you know what? I think you're gonna think a bit differently regarding Santa Cruz after you watched him.
Why? Because he said that he's scared of his power.
No, I've heard that. Just his attitude towards the fight, really.
Okay.
His mindset and how he said all that things about with the money and how he fought all them fights, but. He said straight before that he fights for money, but his attitude seems different now. He's all about, fighting to prove people wrong because he's scared and don't want to take big fighters and yeah. So and it made and honestly, I think it's good. The thing is, technically, he said he's gonna box him, right? Santa Cruz said straight up, we're gonna box him, we're gonna move, whatever. If he does that, and he lands a lot of combination, Frampton style. I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna win. If I'm gonna have to put my money on someone, it's gonna be Davis because I feel like he had a better boxing IQ. Because I've seen Santa Cruz literally look at the guy's feet and just swing windmills, and I'm just thinking, bro, what are you doing? But I've also seen him be quite strategic. So I think it's gonna be because output-wise, I mean. Is Gervonta's output even close to being as high as Santa Cruz? And if Santa Cruz labeled in with the reach, and if Gervonta has a hard time and he keeps stepping back and landing combinations, well, it can be a frustrating night.
Yeah.
Because Gervonta, a bit like Teofimo, likes to sometimes think. The only difference is this time the guy is actually away from you, not coming to you.
Yeah.
And if you are a counterpuncher, and Gervonta Davis is a very good counterpuncher, same slickness, same punch variety, like a bit like reminds me of Teofimo. I'll obviously say he's a bit better he's a bit more agile, he's smaller, he's a bit quicker, you know what I'm saying? He's got better feet, I think. But we'll see. But that's what's going to be really interesting. How is Santa Cruz going to go about it? He's going to stay disciplined, he's going to get involved. Can he get involved in a safe distance? What's the height difference? Sometimes, you don't get a good gauge from tail of the tape. You need to see it and seeing the guy use it. And I'm not that you just said, he's going to be good and then he's going to blast him out. And I think that it could be very well happen. But after listening to his planning, it feels like he's going to... But, he's a crowd fighter too. Like last time, talking about people who use the crowd. So it's going to be interesting. But forgetting the crowd thing, I just said, I think it's not going to be as easy and as one-sided as you made it out to be. And I think it's going to be very challenging. My little brother, shout out to Maddy, he was saying the same shit. He's like, Santa Cruz is a bum. Who's he? I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? I know he's not.
No, he's not a bum.
No, but he said in terms of like where he's at now, in terms of moving up and his age and who's he fought lately. And I get that because if this was right after the Frampton fight, let's say
different story.
You know what I mean? So I get that part of it, how Tank's a major favorite, basically. And when he said bum, I know he meant in a sense of like his like Kovalev yard. He said the same thing then. But if Kovalev was in his prime, he would have said, you know what I'm saying? He just means the time of where they're at, basically, and the mismatch. Because we were having debate on what fights are good rest of the year. But I still think this is a very competitive fight.
Yeah,
and
fair point.
The way the training and I love shout out to Calvin Ford, Gervonta's trainer. I love that guy. And the way that they're talking about and Floyd with how he's gonna box and don't think about your power. You need to watch All Access. Yeah. They're talking a lot about boxing, and can he box Santa Cruz? Can he time him well and hurt him and then keep him not as his output low basically? But it's gonna be interesting. Can he deal with the heat? Is Santa Cruz really gonna put it on him at times? Because like I said, with the reach, he's a bit small. Gervonta is a bit small. That's That's his thing. He's a bit short. Like I said, I don't know with reach wise, but I think it's definitely a good fight, and I'm actually excited for it. You know, I'm actually excited for it. So yeah, I think it's obviously got Tank winning. And you know, if Santa Cruz makes reckless decisions, Tank's a sharpshooter. You know, I mean, have you seen some of the stuff that he lands? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's why him and Teofimo Lopez, they remind me of each other more than, for example, Tank reminds me of Devin Haney, even though they have more slickness in common. They have some slickness in common. In terms of the way they can really set up that shot, and they know they got power, basically, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's going to be interesting, because if he can punch well in between Santa Cruz's shots, because Santa Cruz is sometimes a person who shoots first, thinks seconds, and I've seen him think, but he can get carried away. And if that happens, I think there's only one winner. So it has to be a very disciplined performance, but not just a cagey disciplined performance. I still think Santa Cruz needs a high output, but don't hook those straight shots and keep your distance walking back, and then obviously put it on him. But you need to be careful, very, very careful against someone like Tank. And like I said, you know, how strong is Santa Cruz? You know, we don't know. We only seen him rock once. Maybe he's got the strongest beard we ever seen. We just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a great fight, and I think Tank's going to win, and hopefully he calls out Loma or something. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that fight, definitely.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna. I know you weren't saying I called him a bum. You're just saying that your brother said it. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think Leo Santa Cruz is a bad fighter. He's a very good fighter. In fact, he's a 3-division world champion already.
But where he is at right now is, you know, he's not at his A. He's not. They're both not in the prime. We don't know. I'm assuming, because we've seen Leo Santa Cruz against Mares, against, like, I've seen his last fight, and I've seen him look a lot better. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, of course. Like you said, timing-wise, it's not the best for either man. But unfortunately, it is what it is. They need to get some big fights in this year as well. So it is what it is. As I was saying, just to wrap up on this fight, I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be the easiest fight ever. I'm just saying, for me, if I look at Gervonta Davis being a big lad coming down to that weight, and then he's in a balloon up overnight, and Santa Cruz moving up, then obviously it shows that he's obviously, you know, the smaller man, and Joante, you know, young lad, strong lad, still growing, obviously, and this isn't really his weight class. That could be the opposite and be his detriment, and you know, cause his performance to suffer. But I think he's gonna stop him. I don't know how quickly or how late, but I think Santa Cruz might have a good few moments the first few rounds with his, you know, punch output and whatnot, and being, you know, the long ganglia reach and whatnot. But I think Joante does at some point catch him, or you know, break him down at some point and stop him. But either way, two big names, good fight for PBC as well, and I think it's the first one welcoming back fans in America as well, so fair play. Speaking about that card, by the way, Regis Prograis is making his PBC debut on the undercard. He's in a fight as well. It's not really a very meaningful fight, but for him, it's just about getting back out after the Maurice Hooker fight obviously fell apart at the zone. He's obviously jumped ship on a one-fight deal at the minute with PBC. What do you think's next for Regis Prograis, and how do you think things are going to unfold for him moving forward?
I think he should fight Broner. And when did Broner make 140 last? Broner fought Pacquiao last, didn't he?
Yeah, but that was 147.
So yeah, but I'm pretty sure he always says he can make 140. So I'm just thinking on that side of the street, you know, who they got.
Yeah.
Who's there for Regis Prograis?
Who is there for Regis Prograis? Sergey Lipinets is the fight to make, I think.
Oh, he just fought Drew yesterday. You know what?
Clayton.
That would be a good fight.
That's a good fight. Two good styles.
I bet that's why they put him a week after each other.
Yeah, just to see how it goes.
That's, you know what? That's a good fight. That's a sick fight.
Action fight.
Prograis and Lipinets.
Lipinets is a good fighter, you know.
Yeah,
he
is solid.
He's a decent little fighter.
That is a solid test, and he's a big guy.
Big fella.
That's a solid test for Prograis, but I think Prograis got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to see him back in the ring as well, Prograis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All year after the Josh Taylor fight, that was obviously again probably joint top fight of the year alongside the other final in the WBSS with Donaire and Inoue. So two great fights. They were good to have him back on the undercard. And then the last fight we're going to be discussing, or the last fight card we're going to be discussing, is the Usyk versus Chisora fight next Saturday in the SEC Arena again. Finally, Oleksandr Usyk versus Chisora was meant to happen back in May, and then it's been pushed back and back and back, and we're finally getting it now. Break the fight down for me. A lot of people seem to think 1 point from Chisora and it's all over. My view is, look, Chisora is a gatekeeper. Yes, he's had a late career resurgence and whatnot, but I don't really buy into it all. I think, yes, if he lands something big, then he can knock anyone out. He's a big guy. But I think Usyk's got too much for him, and he's going to want to put on a performance after the Chaz Witherspoon fight and the way things went there. I think he's going to do bits, and he's probably going to outbox him or break him down late and stop him. I don't know if he's got the power to necessarily hurt Chisora that much to stop him, but I think he's going to outbox him and run rings around him. Can you give me your breakdown?
I mean, it's hard to break it down because we've not seen anything. Well, we have, but not a lot from Usyk at heavyweight. So it's going to be interesting. And I think we all just got questions really right now, right? Like, what's he going to look like? What's his body going to look like? What's his punches what effect are they going to have on Derek WAR Chisora? So obviously, like you said, innit, circles around him and break him down. Those are the most logical options when you're thinking about the fight. And this is going to be interesting to see, what can Chisora do in this fight? What does Usyk let him do? I can't wait. It's going to be sick. I love watching someone like Chisora. Like I said, not on pay-per-view, but I know Usyk demands a lot of money, and so he deserves, really. But Chisora gives it his all, right? But again, crowd, is that gonna affect this fight like his fight against Caballel? Because that was awful. The guy was like, he'd rather be dead than be in that ring that day. He couldn't be bothered. He was just falling forwards onto him, round after round, trying to land a big swinging shot.
Yeah.
Mr. David Hayes probably going to be there to talk crap, and Eddie and Adam Smith's going to be like loud as fuck on the mic. Hopefully these things gas him up, and because he needs that energy. If he starts, his energy starts going low, and he can't pressure him like he should be doing or whatever. Because him and David Hayes, all they're talking about is constant pressure, and they're talking a lot about foot pressure. They're talking a lot about cutting him off at certain angles in the ring, and easier said than done. But Chisora has shown that he can do well. She has shown he gives it his all, and they shouldn't realistically. Should Derek Chisora be able to beat Oleksandr Usyk at this stage of his career? No, but he has looked a lot better, and he has shown some more power than
recently.
Like he's shown more power than he I mean, who can't knock out David Price?
The Spilka knockout.
Takam or Spilka, but then again, we're talking about people like David Price and Spilka would probably just like, if they got headbutt each other, they'll probably both get knocked out. Do you know what I mean? They had that stage. Just the Takam one, that was amazing.
Yeah, and he was losing that fight as well as a war.
Yeah, and and the Dylan White second performance was great.
Yeah, So he's had a great resurgence in the last few fights. But with Usyk,
he needs to give him a challenge. He needs to give Usyk a challenge. Otherwise, if he walks onto an uppercut and it's good night, I mean,
that's embarrassing, isn't it?
But then again, that would okay, we're talking about Joshua and Fury. What do we want now? Do we want Chisora to beat Usyk so we get the undisputed fight?
Or do we want Usyk to step in and start causing problems? Yeah, true.
To tell you what I want. I want Usyk to get injured. Not a bad injury at all.
Okay.
Not a bad injury at all, right?
Just to slow the fight down.
Yeah. He just has to stop the fight. It's somewhat I don't know what it is. Somewhat that can be easily sorted out. It's not major, but somewhat happens, all right? His eye, he gets something in his eye he can't see, whatever. It's not minor thing, you just have to wait it out. Then he just lost on his record, so he won't be mandatory. Right? Then he'll have to fight Chisora again, and then they can fight for the undisputed, and then he can become mandatory again. That would be ideal, just somehow, because I really want to see the undisputed. I want to see all the belts. It shouldn't be that you can't have all the belts because someone's a mandatory. And I understand that someone's a mandatory, but it's an undisputed heavyweight title fight, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's big. You don't get those every day.
Sanctioning bodies,
need to work together on this one.
Work together and use some common sense for the better of boxing.
You're going to earn money, you're going to earn the most money at that fight.
Exactly, and just for the better of boxing in just this is the best thing that can happen
Don't
for
shoot
boxing.
yourself in the foot like
Undisputed.
you always do. Work together and make
That's
it
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And, you know, most likely Usyk is going to play with Chisora and he's going to break him down. Is he going to stop Chisora?
Don't think so.
That would be a hell of a statement.
Hmm.
That would be a hell of a statement. And, you know, if Usyk starts sitting on his shots, he can definitely do damage. It's just a risky thing to do.
Man. Yeah.
But we have no idea. But let's be honest. I don't think that he's going to fight Usyk. Chisora like he fought Bellew.
That was different.
You know how he was. Bellew was basically like sucking him in.
Yeah.
I don't. But I'm just saying. I've seen boxers sometimes put it on pressure fighters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in this instance, I think Usyk's definitely gonna take it easy at the beginning. You know, if he starts making them miss quite easily, I think he'll get a bit creative, start countering him, and we'll see what happens. And we need Usyk in the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Badly.
What a character.
What a character. Derek! Derek, I see you, Derek. You know what I mean?
Love it, man. He's
and this is like, you know how he always does stupid shit. Yeah, he's just a sick guy. Like, you know, with the Bob Arum thing when he stepped in front of him.
Yeah, that was funny, man. Oh my god.
You know, if Usyk wasn't Usyk in the ring, everything would be like Dave Allen. Do you know what I mean? You'll just think about this guy like, shut up, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But because he's a fucking world class, you know,
he's a perfect addition to the heavyweight, and he needs to come ASAP because he's not getting any younger, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the best scenario for him is, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, he's gonna, you know, enforce mandatory and all this stuff.
Yeah.
What they need to do is shut the fuck up for a second, step back and look at it and say, you know what, they're gonna pay you step aside money anyway. They can give you a couple of $100 for that. Yeah. Step aside, you earn money.
I bet you can get more than that. I bet you can get some millions.
Yeah, $500 above. You know what I mean? Considering
he'll definitely get about $1 million or more than millions for that.
Yeah, if he gets that fair play to him, I'm not going to hold that against him. Innit?
Yeah.
Go sit on your ass and just do that, or have some
fight Joseph Parker or something.
Yeah. Again, well, Usyk, we know he's the type of guy to take that risk. He'll do it. He's got the balls to do it. A lot of fighters will take the money and sit out and just wait till, you know, thingy. But we'll see what he does. But I think we're on the same page. I think, you know, obviously.
I think it all depends on the Chisora fight, though. It does depend how he performs, how he feels.
Yeah,
you know, if he sparks Chisora and he's confident as fuck,
he's going
to be like, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah.
If he has any type of struggle and he doesn't feel 100%, like he thinks, you know what, I need another training camp, I need one more fight, then, you know, I'm sure his decision is not going to be... I don't know, man. The guy's crazy. Honestly, you know what? I can't predict what he's going to do. The guy's off his nut.
We'll see what he does.
Because in the end of the day, he thinks... He probably just thinks like, no, I'm mandatory and I have to be now. Like, you don't know what he's thinking, right? Stubborn people, and acceptably, he is mandatory. You know, it's not like he's
wrong. Yeah.
Asking for something he's not. Well, has he earned it? Well, beating Chisora, is that title shot, you know?
Well,
Undisputed, I guess. Undisputed earned it, I know, but...
Yeah, he's mandatory for that reason, isn't it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, you still got to have a few feeling out fights to know how good you are at the weight kind of thing.
And you know, his first fight was going to be Takam, so really, everything's just been delayed in it for him.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, things haven't worked out the best way. But yeah, so what's your prediction for the fight?
Usyk. Easy, obviously, it's going to be Usyk. How? Let's just say knockout because it's more fun.
Okay, cool. I'm picking
Usyk. What you got?
I'm picking Usyk by late stoppage or decision, but I'll go late stoppage.
How do you think it's going to stop him?
I just think he'll break him down. I think he's going to catch him too much. He's going to just,
I could just see Chisora.
You can get him on the ropes at some point and just unload. Yeah, but I think with Usyk, he's not the type to unload in a silly way. He's going to use
he takes time. Takes his time.
Step to the left, step to the right. You know, boom, boom, boom. You know, hooks. That's, you know, I mean, make it look flashy. Chisora's going to be gassed by that point as well.
You think?
Yeah,
he's shown great. He's shown great.
He's shown good fitness in the last few. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, the amount of time he's probably going to miss in this fight as well.
Yeah, good point.
Because he's not 40 man slippery like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chisora overall, Chisora has been a gatekeeper. He's not had a world title shot since 2000.
No, yeah. It's just the size. Like I said, it's like last week.
Size and power factor.
Usyk was same size as Derek Chisora. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't even think that I would bother like being excited for it. I'll obviously watch it, but you know what I'm saying.
It's that factor.
And Dave Caldwell said that southpaws are Derek Chisora's worst nightmare.
Well, there you go then.
And this isn't just a southpaw. Jesus.
And put it this way: if the geezer in the WSB could beat the shit out of Joe Joyce the way he did, I don't see Chisora causing any problems. You know what I mean?
Good point.
He will cause some problems, no doubt. He's the program's different. And Chisora is the type of guy who's
and Chisora is
going to risk it.
faster than Joe Joyce.
Yeah, and he's going to risk it. So there will be obviously
Jesus.
some intangibles like that. Joe Joyce is very slow as well. Sorry to get a bit excited there, but yeah, my point is, Usyk's just levels above. So unless something crazy happens, a big knockout punch like Takam, where he was losing and just caught him with 2 big shots and finished him, Usyk should have a fairly, I'm not going to say comfortable. I think he'll be on edge and he'll be on it, so he'll stay focused. But I think it could be a fairly easy pick to pick Usyk, whether it's a stoppage or a decision. But Usyk.
What we got on the undercard?
The undercard, we've got the Lee Selby versus George Kambosos Jr. That's the IBF lightweight final eliminator, so mandatory to Teofimo or whoever.
That's the co-main event.
Yeah, it's a dead card to be honest. And then you got your boy Dave Allen on the undercard.
This is why I said I wanted to mention it, because Dylan White and Povetkin, right? The undercard was so fucking shit. Like, do you know these undercards or pay-per-views used to be solid? Let's just say that someone is fighting someone who is not. Like, I'm not saying that the matchup needs to be A-star versus A-star, but if I'm seeing some up and coming talents, or like even if Conor Ben's in a tough fight, if I'm just saying anyone who can fight a bit, right, is in a tough fight, instead of like Zach Chelly and Jack Cullen and Babbage versus this guy, the strange fights. And these undercards used to be a lot better. At least you see different type of like Josh Kelly fighting someone. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm just saying these up and coming guys who are hungry, energetic. I want to watch them against decent step ups at least. And that should be a Sky Sports normal fight night card, not a pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? It's unbelievable. I just think these last 2 pay-per-view cards, I mean, they've been shocking. I'm trying to sit through them. I can't get excited for any of these shit fights. Lee Selby. Have you seen Lee Selby?
What about him?
Have you seen what he looks like? Like this week. Have you seen any videos or pictures of him?
No.
All right, well, just wait till Saturday.
Well, he's obviously moved up a 2-weight division since the Warrington.
Yeah, like, it's nothing bad. It's just surprising.
Yeah.
You'll know when you know.
I'll take a look on Twitter when I get a chance today. But yeah, like you said, I'm not really too excited about the undercard. I just want to see the main event for Usyk, if I'm being honest. Nothing more.
Bro, that's like, it's a pay-per-view card. Is this the standard? You know how everyone's like, wow, Joyce and Dubois is not a pay-per-view.
Again, that's a one-fight card.
But since when should that be a pay-per-view? Daniel Dubois versus
anyway.
Joe Joyce.
Yeah.
Is it a great fight? Should they get a lot of money?
Fight,
right.
Yes. Money, yes, but it's not pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view. Is that the standard we're at? Like, we should be so grateful that it's not pay-per-view. Shocking. These cards are shit. Call it what it is shit.
I agree, and like I said, the undercard, I'm not too bothered at all about the this weekend's undercard. For
you
the Sky
can't
card.
Be bothered. That's why.
Yeah,
it's hard to be bothered. You have to try to be bothered. That's not what we should be getting. We pay our hard-earned money for these fights. A lot of people do.
Yeah. Like you said, the undercard should be a lot better than what it is. But ultimately, we're tuning in for Usyk and Chisora, aren't we? I mean, as with most cards, the main event is the main selling point. And I'm sure we're going to enjoy that either way. What we'll do is this week we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully either midweek or this time next week, we'll have a review show for those cards. And we will have a lot to talk about then as well. Once again, thank you to everyone who tuned into this episode. If you do want to leave us any comments on YouTube, please feel free, or drop us an email at theboxingjunkies@gmail.com, and we will answer any questions you have on the next week's podcast. Thank you. And